The truth doesn't ask permission before it destroys you. Bianca Ferraro had loved the wrong brother. She'd carried his child, mourned his death, and rebuilt herself from ash and grief. He thought the past was buried. He was wrong. Because Don Silvio Nero, the man who ruled empires with a word, who wore power like other men wore cologne, had learned the truth. And now, standing across the cathedral at his brother's memorial, his dark eyes found hers with the weight of fate itself. He would not let her go. Some obsessions don't ask. They claim. Please like, share and subscribe. The cathedral was silent except for whispered prayers. Bianca stood in the back row, hidden behind marble columns and expensive coats. She hadn't planned to come. Matteo had been dead for 18 months. The memorial was political theater. Don Silvio consolidating power, honoring a brother he'd barely spoken to in years. She should have stayed home. But grief makes liars of us all. Her hand rested on her stomach, a habit she couldn't break even though her daughter was home with the nanny. Sophia, 15 months old. Dark curls and gray eyes that didn't belong to Bianca's family tree. They belonged to his. She felt the stare before she saw him. Across the cathedral, through incense and candlelight, Silvio Nero watched her with the focused intensity of a man who'd just found something he'd been hunting. Their eyes met. The world narrowed to that single point of contact. He knew. Bianca's breath caught. She turned, slipping through the crowd toward the exit. Her heels clicked against marble, too loud, too fast. She didn't run. Running was admission. But her heart knew the truth. She'd been found. Later that night the knock came at 9. Bianca froze in her kitchen, wineglass halfway to her lips. She lived in a modest apartment in Rome's Trastevere district, far from the Nero family's fortress-like estates, far from the world Matteo had promised her before he died in a car crash that was never quite explained. The knock came again. Firm. Patient. She set down the glass and crossed to the door, checking the peephole. Her stomach dropped. Don Silvio Nero stood in her hallway wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. His hands were clasped behind his back. His expression was unreadable, carved marble with a pulse. She didn't open the door. Bianca. His voice carried through the wood, low and certain. I know you're there. Go away. We need to talk. We have nothing to discuss. Silence stretched between them. Then, I know about Sophia. Her hand trembled on the doorknob. She closed her eyes, leaning her forehead against the door. Of course he knew. Men like Silvio Nero knew everything. She opened the door but didn't step back. What do you want? Up close he was devastating. Older than Matteo by 8 years, harder in every way that mattered. His dark hair was touched with silver at the temples. His jaw was sharp enough to cut. But his eyes, those pale gray eyes that Sophia had inherited, held something she hadn't expected. Recognition. Possession. Hunger. To see my niece, he said simply. No. That wasn't a request. And this isn't a negotiation. Bianca lifted her chin. Sophia is mine. Matteo is gone. Your family made it very clear I wasn't welcome at his funeral. I got the message. Something flickered in his expression. That was my father's doing. I was in New York handling business when Matteo died. Convenient. Necessary. He took a step closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke and old money. If I'd been here, things would have been different. But you weren't. And now it's too late. Is it? His gaze dropped to her mouth, lingered, then rose again. Because from where I'm standing, it feels like we're just beginning. Heat flooded her cheeks. She started to close the door. His hand caught it, holding it open with effortless strength. I'm not leaving until I see her. She's asleep. Then I'll wait. He didn't wait in the hallway. Against every screaming instinct, Bianca let him in. Not because she was weak. Because she understood power. Silvio Nero could have this door removed from its hinges with a phone call. He could have her evicted, investigated, destroyed. Better to control the battlefield. She led him to the small living room, acutely aware of the second-hand furniture, the toys scattered across the carpet, the life she'd built from nothing after Matteo's family had discarded her like an embarrassing mistake. Silvio's presence filled the space, making everything feel smaller. He didn't sit. He moved to the window, looking out at the street below. You disappeared after the funeral. I was asked to leave. By my father. Does it matter who gave the order? Bianca crossed her arms. The message was clear. Matteo's mistakes weren't welcome. He turned, and the look he gave her was sharp enough to draw blood. You think that's what you were? A mistake. I know what I was. A distraction. A phase. The girl from the wrong side of town who thought she could fit into his world. She laughed, bitter. I was stupid enough to believe him when he said we'd run away together. He was engaged to someone else. I know that now. Silvio studied her with unnerving focus. Did you love him? The question landed like a blade between ribs. That's none of your business. Everything about you is my business now. He crossed the room slowly, a predator's approach. My brother put a child in your body. That makes you family. Whether you like it or not. I'm not family. I'm a complication you want to control. No, Bianca. He stopped inches away, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. You're the woman who's been living in my city with my blood running through her daughter's veins, and I'm done pretending that doesn't change everything. Her pulse hammered. What do you want? To meet Sophia. To know she's safe. To ensure she has everything she needs. We're fine. His gaze swept the apartment, taking in details she suddenly wished she could hide. The rent notice on the counter. The generic brand groceries. The careful economy of a woman making ends meet alone. You work at a bookstore, he said. Not a question. How do you? She stopped. Of course he'd investigated her. Yes. You have a degree in art history. Which means nothing in the real world. It means you're educated. Capable. Wasted behind a cash register. He reached out and she froze as his fingers brushed a strand of hair from her face. The touch was feather-light, unbearably intimate. It means my brother was a fool. She jerked back. Don't. Don't what? Don't touch me. Don't look at me like that. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't pretend this is anything other than obligation. Something dark flashed in his eyes. You think obligation would bring me here at night? You think duty made me track you down, made me stand outside your door wondering if you'd shoot me through it? I don't own a gun. Pity. It might make this easier. He exhaled slowly. Show me my niece, Bianca. Then we'll talk about everything else. Sophia's room was the only space in the apartment Bianca had made beautiful. Soft lavender walls. A hand-painted mobile above the crib. Books and stuffed animals organized with care. She'd poured everything she couldn't give her daughter in material wealth into this room. Love, attention, beauty. Silvio stood in the doorway, utterly still. Sophia slept on her stomach, dark curls spread across the pillow, one tiny fist curled near her face. She wore pink pajamas covered in stars. Her breathing was soft and even. Bianca watched Silvio's face change. The mask cracked. Just for a moment, just enough to see the man beneath the power. The uncle meeting his brother's child for the first time, seeing the living proof that Matteo had existed, had loved, had left something behind. His jaw worked. His hands clenched at his sides. She looks like him, he said roughly. She has your eyes. He glanced at her, something unreadable passing between them. Our father's eyes. The Nero eyes. I know. Bianca kept her voice low. Every time I look at her, I see your family. Does that hurt? The question surprised her with its softness. Sometimes. But she's mine. That matters more. Silvio turned back to Sophia, and Bianca saw his hands relax, saw something gentler move through his expression. Hey, She knew what he was asking. Every protective instinct screamed no. But she found herself nodding. He moved into the room with surprising care, approaching the crib like it contained something precious and breakable. He didn't try to pick Sophia up. He simply stood there, one hand resting on the rail, watching her sleep. Minutes passed in silence. Then Sophia stirred, making a small sound. Her eyes fluttered open, those pale gray Nero eyes, and found Silvio's face hovering above her. Bianca tensed, ready to intervene if Sophia cried. But her daughter simply stared at this stranger, curious and unafraid. Silvio's expression softened further. Hello, Piccola, he murmured. I'm your Uncle Silvio. Sophia blinked slowly, then smiled. One of those sleepy baby smiles that could melt stone. Silvio's breath caught audibly. And Bianca realized with terrifying clarity that she'd made a mistake letting him in. Because the way he looked at Sophia, with wonder and possession and fierce, immediate devotion, told her everything she needed to know. He wasn't going to walk away. Not now. Not ever. They left Sophia's room in tense silence. Bianca made tea she didn't want, needing something to do with her hands. Silvio stood by the window again, his back to her, radiating controlled intensity. "She's beautiful," he said finally. "Yes. Healthy. Perfectly. And you? Are you well?" The question caught her off guard. "Why do you care?" He turned, and the look he gave her was complicated. "Because you're raising my brother's daughter alone. Because you were discarded by my family when you needed them most. Because," he stopped, jaw tightening. "Because I care. You don't know me. I know enough." He moved toward her, deliberate and unhurried. "I know you loved my brother enough to keep his child when you had every reason not to. I know you've been working yourself to exhaustion to provide for her. I know you haven't asked my family for a single euro, even though you're entitled to support. I don't want your family's money. No. You want independence. Pride. Control over your own life." He stopped in front of her. "I understand that. But Sophia deserves more than pride." Anger flared hot in her chest. "I give her everything I have. I know. And it's not enough." She slapped him. The sound cracked through the apartment. Her palms stung. Silvio's head had barely moved, but a red mark bloomed on his cheek. He didn't react with anger. He reacted with something worse. Approval. "Good," he said softly. "You have fire. Matteo always did prefer women who could match him. Get out." "Not until we finish this conversation." "There's nothing to finish. You've seen Sophia. You've judged my life and found it wanting. Now leave." "You misunderstand." He caught her wrist, not roughly but firmly enough to stop her from pulling away. His thumb pressed against her racing pulse. "I'm not judging you, Bianca. I'm offering you an alternative. I don't need. Move into one of my properties. Rent-free. A real apartment in a safe neighborhood with space for Sophia to grow. I'll cover expenses. Medical care. Education. Anything she needs." Bianca laughed bitterly. "And in exchange? Nothing." "Bullshit." His mouth curved slightly. Eloquent. "I'm serious. Men like you don't give without taking." "You're right." His grip on her wrist shifted, became a caress. "I want something. But it's not what you think." "Then what?" His eyes held hers. "I want to know my niece. I want to be part of her life. I want to ensure she grows up with the protection and resources of the Nero name. She doesn't need your name. Perhaps not. But she needs security. Stability. And whether you admit it or not, so do you." Bianca tried to pull free. He let her go immediately, hands rising in surrender. "Think about it," he said. "I'll return tomorrow evening. We can discuss details." "Don't bother. My answer is no." "Your answer is fear." He collected his coat from the chair where he'd draped it. "You're afraid that accepting help means losing control. That letting me into Sophia's life means letting me into yours. That if you trust in Nero again you'll end up broken." Every word landed true. She said nothing. At the door he paused. "For what it's worth, Bianca, I'm sorry. For how my family treated you. For Matteo's death. For leaving you alone when you needed protection most." "Why now?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why do you care now?" He looked back at her, and for a moment she saw past the dawn, past the power, to the man underneath. "Because I didn't know," he said simply. "If I had, everything would have been different." Then he was gone, leaving only the ghost of cedar and smoke and a promise that felt like a threat. Bianca didn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every word. The way Silvio had looked at Sophia. The way his voice had softened. The way he'd touched Bianca's wrist like she was something precious. It was manipulation. It had to be. Men like Silvio Nero didn't care about struggling single mothers. They cared about power, legacy, control. But the gentleness in his eyes when he'd watched Sophia sleep. She rolled onto her side, punching the pillow in frustration. He'd return tomorrow. She knew it with bone-deep certainty. And he'd keep returning, keep pushing, keep offering impossible things until her resistance crumbled. Unless she ran. The thought took root quickly. She could leave Rome. Find work in another city. 1. Venice. Somewhere the Nero name didn't reach. But even as she considered it, she knew the truth. There was nowhere the Nero family didn't reach. And running would only prove Silvio right, that she was afraid. He returned at 7 the next evening. This time he brought gifts. A stuffed rabbit for Sophia. A book of Italian Renaissance art for Bianca. First edition, probably worth more than her monthly salary. She left them on the table untouched. "Have you considered my offer?" he asked. "Yes." The answer is still no. He nodded slowly, unsurprised. "May I see Sophia?" She should refuse. Draw a line. Protect her daughter from the complications of the Nero family. But Sophia deserved to know her family. Didn't she? "She's in the living room." This time Sophia was awake. Playing with blocks on a blanket, babbling to herself in the nonsense language of toddlers. When Silvio entered, she looked up and smiled, the same fearless smile from last night. "She remembers you," Bianca said, surprised. "Children have good instincts." He lowered himself to the floor with surprising grace for a man in a three-piece suit, sitting cross-legged on the blanket. "May I play with her?" Bianca nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. For the next 20 minutes she watched the head of the Nero crime family stack blocks with a 15-month-old. He followed Sophia's lead, patient when she knocked down his towers, gentle when she grabbed his tie and tried to eat it. He made her laugh, deep belly laughs that filled the apartment with unexpected joy. And Bianca felt something crack in her chest. This wasn't manipulation. This was real. Silvio wasn't playing a role. He genuinely delighted in Sophia. Genuinely cared. Which made everything so much more complicated. After Sophia went down for her nap, they sat in the living room in tense silence. "She's remarkable," Silvio said. "She is. Matteo would have loved her." The words hurt, sharp and unexpected. "You think so?" "I know so. For all his faults, my brother had a good heart. He would have done right by you both. Given the chance." He didn't want the chance. He chose his fiancée. His real life. Bianca's voice was steady, but old wounds bled beneath the surface. "I was just the distraction. You were more than that." "How would you know? You barely knew him." Silvio's expression darkened. "I knew him better than you think. We weren't close, but we were brothers. I saw how he looked at you in the photos from the charity gala. How he smiled in the surveillance footage from the restaurants you visited together. You had us followed? I have everyone followed." He said it without apology. "It's how I stay alive in this world. But Matteo was different with you. Lighter. Like he'd found something worth being better for." Tears burned her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. "Then why did he leave me?" "Because our father demanded it. Because his engagement was political. Because he was weak when he should have been strong." Silvio leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "But he loved you, Bianca. Of that I'm certain. Love wasn't enough." "No. It wasn't." His gaze held hers. "But maybe it could be now." The air between them shifted, charged with something dangerous. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you don't have to be alone anymore. I'm saying Sophia deserves to know her family. I'm saying..." He stopped, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I'm saying let me help you. Not as obligation. As choice." "And what do you get out of it?" "The privilege of watching my niece grow up. The knowledge that you're both safe and provided for." His voice dropped lower. "The chance to know you." Her heart stuttered. "You don't want to know me." "Don't I?" He stood, crossing to her chair. He crouched in front of her, bringing them eye level. "You're beautiful, intelligent, fierce enough to raise a child alone in a city that tried to break you. You loved my brother despite knowing he was promised to another. You kept his child when abortion would have been easier. You rebuilt yourself from nothing." His hand lifted, hovering near her face but not touching. "Why wouldn't I want to know you?" "Because I'm broken." "No." His fingers finally made contact, brushing her cheek with devastating gentleness. "You're forged. There's a difference." She should pull away. She should maintain distance. But his touch felt like absolution. "This is a mistake," she whispered. "Probably." His thumb traced her lower lip. "Do you want me to stop?" "Yes." "No." She didn't know anymore. She was saved from answering by Sophia's cry from the bedroom. Silvio pulled back immediately, the moment broken. Bianca fled to tend to her daughter, heart racing, skin burning where he'd touched her. When she returned, he was gone. But on the table next to the untouched gifts, sat a business card with a single handwritten line. "When you're ready to stop running, call me." A week passed. Silvio didn't return, didn't call, didn't send messages. But his absence was louder than his presence had been. Bianca found herself looking for him in crowds, listening for his knock, reaching for the business card a dozen times before pulling her hand back. Work became harder. Sophia caught a cold that required antibiotics Bianca could barely afford. The rent notice became a final warning. And still she didn't call. Pride, she told herself. Self-preservation. But late at night, alone in her bed, she admitted the truth. She was terrified. Not of Silvio. Of what he represented. Safety. Security. The end of struggling alone. And worse, the possibility of wanting him. Because somewhere between watching him play blocks with Sophia and feeling his thumb trace her lip, something had shifted. Some wall she'd built after Matteo's death had developed cracks. Silvio Nero was nothing like his brother. Where Matteo had been charming and reckless, Silvio was controlled and calculating. Where Matteo had made promises he couldn't keep, Silvio seemed like a man who kept every promise he made. Where Matteo had hidden her, Silvio had looked at her like she was something worth claiming in daylight. And that was more dangerous than anything else. The breaking point came on a Thursday. Bianca's manager called her into the office. Budget cuts. They had to let someone go. Last hired, first fired. She was unemployed by noon. She made it home before the panic set in. Sophia needed formula. Diapers. Medicine for her lingering cough. Rent was due in 6 days. Bianca had exactly €400 in savings. She could find another job. Eventually. But eventually didn't pay for food. She could ask her parents. But they'd disowned her when she'd gotten pregnant with a married man's baby. She could apply for assistance. Start the humiliating process of proving she was desperate enough to deserve help. Or her hand closed around Silvio's card. Or she could make one phone call. She stared at the number for 10 minutes. Then, before courage could fail her, she dialed. He answered on the first ring. Bianca. Just her name. But the way he said it, like he'd been waiting, like he knew, made her throat tight. "I need help." Silence. Then, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Bianca sat on the floor of her kitchen holding her phone, wondering what she'd just set in motion. Wondering if this was salvation or surrender. 20 minutes later his knock came. She opened the door to find Silvio in casual clothes. Dark jeans, black Henley leather jacket. He looked younger. More dangerous without the armor of expensive suits. His eyes scanned her face, reading everything she couldn't say. "What happened?" "I lost my job." "When?" "Today." He stepped inside, closed the door. "Have you eaten?" The question surprised her. "What?" "Food. Have you had any today?" He couldn't remember. No." He pulled out his phone, typed quickly. "Food will be here in 30 minutes. Now tell me what you need." The efficiency should have irritated her. Instead it felt like relief. "Rent. Bills. Formula. I can find another job, but I need time and..." "Done. You don't even know how much." "I don't care." He pocketed his phone. "Your landlord will receive payment tomorrow. I'll have an account set up in your name with monthly deposits for expenses. You'll also receive a signing bonus to cover immediate needs. Silvio. And I still want you to consider moving. But that's your choice. This isn't conditional." She stared at him. "Why?" "Because Sophia is family. Because you shouldn't have to choose between pride and feeding your daughter. Because," he stopped, jaw working. "Because I don't like seeing you afraid." "I'm not afraid. You're terrified. I can see it in your eyes." He moved closer and she caught cedar and leather and something uniquely him. "Let me help, Bianca. No strings. No obligations. Just, let me." She should refuse. She should maintain her independence, her autonomy. But she was so tired of being strong alone. "Okay," she whispered. Something shifted in his expression. Triumph and relief and something warmer. "Okay," he echoed. Then, before she could process it, he pulled her into his arms. The embrace was firm and careful, like he was holding something precious he was afraid to break. His hand cupped the back of her head, his other arm wrapped around her waist. Bianca stood frozen for a heartbeat. Then she crumbled. All the fear, the exhaustion, the loneliness poured out of her in silent sobs. She clutched his shirt, burying her face against his chest, and let him hold her while she fell apart. He didn't speak. Didn't make false promises or empty reassurances. He just held her. And somehow that was enough. Over the following weeks, Silvio became part of their lives. Not invasively. Not demandingly. But consistently. He visited 3 times a week. Always in the evening, always bearing small gifts. Books for Bianca, toys for Sophia. Groceries neither of them mentioned but both knew she needed. He played with Sophia. Read her stories. Taught her to clap and wave. He talked with Bianca about art, about books, about everything except Matteo and the strange new dynamic developing between them. The money appeared in her account as promised. Enough to breathe. Not enough to feel bought. And slowly, impossibly, Bianca began to relax. She found herself looking forward to his visits. Anticipating his knock. Smiling when Sophia squealed, "Sio." Her attempt at his name. But she also noticed other things. The way his gaze lingered on her face. The careful distance he maintained like he was restraining himself. The tension that hummed beneath every casual touch. He wanted her. She saw it in the way his jaw tightened when she laughed. In the way his hands clenched when another man at the park smiled at her. In the way he watched her with Sophia, something hungry and possessive moving through his expression. But he never pushed. Never crossed the invisible line between them. And perversely that restraint made her want him more. The shift happened on a Friday night. Bianca had agreed to have dinner with an old college friend, Marco, harmless and sweet, offering nothing more than conversation and wine. She'd mentioned it to Silvio casually. His response had been equally casual. "Enjoy yourself." But when she answered the door to Marco at 7, she found Silvio's car parked across the street. He was leaning against it, arms crossed, watching. Marco followed her gaze. "Friend of yours?" "Something like that." "He looks intense." "He is." She kissed Marco's cheek, ignoring the way Silvio's posture shifted. "Let's go." Throughout dinner she felt Silvio's presence like a ghost. Marco talked about his job, his travels, his recent divorce. He was funny and kind and utterly uninteresting. Because all Bianca could think about was the man watching her from the shadows. When Marco walked her home, Silvio's car was gone. She told herself she wasn't disappointed. He was lying. Upstairs, the nanny reported that Sophia had been perfect. Bianca paid her, locked up, and checked on her sleeping daughter. Then she poured wine and tried not to think about gray eyes and controlled fury. The knock came at 11. She knew who it was before she opened the door. Silvio stood in her hallway, still in the same clothes, looking like barely leashed violence. "Did you enjoy your date?" His voice was too quiet. "It wasn't a date. He touched you. He kissed my cheek. He wanted more. So what if he did?" She didn't step back when Silvio entered, closing the door behind him. "I'm allowed to see other people." "Are you?" He prowled toward her and suddenly her apartment felt too small. "Are you allowed, Bianca? Because from where I'm standing you're mine." Her breath caught. "I'm not." "You are." He stopped inches away, not touching but close enough that she felt his heat. "You've been mine since the moment I walked through that door. Since I saw Sophia. Since I watched you rebuild yourself from ashes my family created. That's not how this works. Isn't it?" His hand rose, fingers threading through her hair. "Tell me you didn't think about me during dinner. Tell me you didn't wish it was me sitting across from you. Tell me." His voice dropped to a rough whisper. "Tell me you don't feel this." She couldn't. Because she did feel it. The pull between them. The inevitable gravity. "This is wrong," she managed. "Why? Because of Matteo?" His other hand found her waist. "My brother is dead, Bianca. And whatever you felt for him, it's not what this is." "What is this?" "Wine." The word was a growl. "You're mine. Sophia is mine. This life you've built, this future you're creating, all of it. Mine." She should push him away. Should tell him he was insane. But his eyes held hers with such fierce certainty that her resistance crumbled. "Silvio." He kissed her. Not gently. Not carefully. But like a man claiming what was his after too long denying himself. His mouth was heat and possession and desperate need. His hands pulled her closer, one fisting in her hair, the other pressing against the small of her back. Bianca melted into him, all her walls shattering at once. She kissed him back with equal desperation, months of tension exploding between them. Her fingers dug into his shoulders. Her body arched against his. He groaned against her mouth, the sound rough and male and utterly undone. Then he pulled back, breathing hard, forehead resting against hers. "Tell me to stop," he said roughly. "No." His eyes blazed. "Bianca. Don't stop." She pulled him back, kissing him again, pouring everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips. He responded instantly, walking her backward until her spine hit the wall. His mouth moved to her neck, trailing fire across her skin. "I've wanted you," he breathed against her throat, "since the moment I saw you in that cathedral. Wanted to claim you. Mark you. Make you forget my brother ever existed." His words should have shocked her. Instead they ignited something primal and needy. "Then do it," she whispered. His control snapped. What followed was a blur of heat and hunger. Clothes shed, boundaries crossed, inhibitions destroyed. He lifted her and her legs wrapped around his waist. He carried her to the bedroom, laying her on the bed with surprising gentleness despite the wildness in his eyes. Then he claimed her in every way that mattered. Thoroughly. Possessively. Completely. And Bianca surrendered to it, to him, with a freedom she'd never known. Because for the first time since Matteo's death, she wasn't alone. For the first time in her life she felt truly seen. Truly wanted. Truly his. She woke wrapped in Silvio's arms. Morning light filtered through the curtains. His chest rose and fell against her back. His hand rested possessively on her hip. Reality crashed in. She'd slept with her dead ex-lover's brother. The man who held power over her daughter's future. The dawn of the Nero family. Panic fluttered in her chest. But before it could take root, Silvio's arm tightened, pulling her closer. "Stop thinking," he murmured against her hair. "How did you? I can feel you tensing. Whatever spiral you're creating, stop. This was a mistake." "No." He pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "This was inevitable." She turned in his arms, needing to see his face. His expression was serious, but his thumb traced her cheekbone with devastating tenderness. "Now you stop pretending you don't need me. Stop pretending this isn't real. Silvio. I love you." The words stopped her heart. "You can't," she whispered. "I do." His eyes held hers with absolute certainty. "I've been falling since I first saw you. Every moment with you and Sophia, every conversation, every smile. It all pushed me deeper. And last night." His voice roughened. "Last night just made it permanent." Tears burned her eyes. "You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're stronger than you believe. Braver than you admit. That you love Sophia more than your own life. That you've survived things that would have broken lesser people." His forehead pressed against hers. "And I know that I will spend the rest of my life proving I'm not my brother. That I won't leave. That I won't fail you." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm afraid. Of me. Of this. Of needing you. Of what happens when," her voice broke, "when you realize I'm not worth the complication." His jaw clenched. "You think you're a complication? I know I am. A single mother. Your brother's leftover mistake. A woman from nothing trying to raise a Nero child in a cramped apartment." He kissed her silent, fierce and claiming. When he pulled back, his eyes blazed. "You are not a mistake. You are not a complication. You are the woman I want. The only woman I see. And if you think for one second that your past or your circumstances make you less," he exhaled roughly, "then I haven't done my job showing you the truth." "What truth?" "That you're extraordinary. That Sophia is a gift. That every moment I spend with you both makes me want things I never thought I'd have." His hand cupped her face. "A family. A home. A life that means something beyond power and territory." Her heart cracked open. "Silvio." Sophia's cry interrupted them. They both froze, then Bianca laughed through her tears. "Perfect timing. She has your sense of drama." He kissed her forehead. "Go. I'll make coffee." She slipped from bed, pulling on his discarded shirt. It fell to mid-thigh, drowning her. Silvio's gaze turned molten. "Keep wearing my clothes. I'll never let you leave. Heat flooded her cheeks as she escaped to Sophia's room. Her daughter stood in her crib, arms raised, tears on her cheeks. But when she saw Bianca, she smiled, that gap-toothed grin that made everything worthwhile. Mama. Good morning, baby. Bianca lifted her, inhaling that sweet baby scent. Did you sleep well? Sophia babbled something incomprehensible, then her eyes went wide. Sayo. Bianca turned to find Silvio in the doorway, shirtless, holding 2 coffee mugs, looking like a fantasy she shouldn't be allowed to have. Sophia practically lunged for him. He set down the mugs quickly, taking her with easy confidence. Good morning, Piccola. Did you miss me? Sophia grabbed his face, patting his stubbled cheeks with both hands. And Bianca's heart simply surrendered. This was what she'd been afraid of. Not Silvio himself, but the hope he represented. The family they could be. The life she'd stopped letting herself want. Bianca. His voice pulled her from her thoughts. Stop looking at me like you're planning your escape route. I'm not. You are. I can see it in your eyes. He settled Sophia on his hip. But I meant what I said. I'm not letting you go. Not now. Not ever. You can't just decide that. Watch me. The next 2 weeks were a fever dream. Silvio didn't just visit. He integrated himself into their lives with surgical precision. He brought breakfast on weekends. Took Sophia to the park while Bianca had time to herself. Introduced them to his personal doctor, who gave Sophia a complete checkup and declared her perfect. He also brought gifts Bianca couldn't refuse. A new stroller, a car seat, winter clothes for Sophia, a laptop for Bianca to pursue freelance art consulting. You're buying my life, she accused one evening. I'm investing in it. He didn't look up from where he was building a block tower with Sophia. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Buying implies ownership. Investment implies partnership. We're not partners. He glanced at her then, gray eyes sharp. Aren't we? You're in my bed 3 nights a week. I have a key to your apartment. Sophia calls me uncle. What would you call this? She didn't have an answer. Because he was right. Somewhere between the first kiss and now they'd become something. Not quite together, not quite separate. Undefined and terrifying. I want you to meet my father, Silvio said suddenly. Bianca's blood went cold. No. Bianca. Absolutely not. That man threw me out of Matteo's funeral. He made it very clear I was unwelcome in your family. He didn't know about Sophia. He wouldn't have cared. Silvio's expression hardened. He'll care now. Because I'm making this official. Making what official? He stood, crossing to where she sat on the couch. He pulled her to her feet, hands firm on her waist. Me, Sophia. This family we're building. His thumb traced her lower lip. I want you to move into my home. I want Sophia to have my protection officially. I want. He stopped, seeming to wage some internal war. I want you to be mine in every way that matters. Her pulse raced. What are you saying? I'm saying marry me. The world tilted. You're insane, she whispered. Probably. He didn't smile. But I'm also serious. Marry me, Bianca. Let me give you and Sophia everything you deserve. Safety. Security. A future without fear. That's not love. That's obligation. It's both. His forehead pressed to hers. I love you. Desperately. Completely. But I also owe you protection. My family failed you once. I won't let it happen again. Marriage is too much, too fast. Then live with me. Move into my estate. Let me wake up with you every morning. Let Sophia grow up in a house with a yard and security and everything she needs. And what do I become? Your mistress? Your kept woman? His eyes flashed. My partner. My equal. The woman I can't live without. God, she wanted to say yes. Wanted to surrender to this impossible fantasy. But fear held her back. I need time. Frustration flickered across his face, but he nodded. How much time? I don't know. A week. I'll give you a week to decide. Then I'm making this choice for both of us. You can't. I can. And I will. Because waiting for you to stop being afraid might take years, and I don't have that kind of patience. He kissed her hard, possessive and claiming. 1 week, Bianca. Then you're mine officially. He left before she could argue. Sophia toddled over, holding up her arms. Sayo. He'll be back, baby. Bianca lifted her daughter, holding her close. He always comes back. The question was, did Bianca want him to? 3 days later the threat arrived. Bianca was at the park with Sophia when she noticed the man. Broad. Watching from across the playground with cold calculation. She told herself she was paranoid. Rome was full of people. Not everyone watching was dangerous. But when she gathered Sophia and started for home, the man followed. Fear spiked through her veins. She walked faster, pulling out her phone. She should call Silvio. He had his number. He told her to use it for anything, anytime. But calling him felt like surrender. She turned a corner, then another, trying to lose the tail. The man kept pace. Finally she ducked into a cafe, heart hammering. She ordered coffee with shaking hands, settling Sophia in a high chair while watching the door. The man entered. He approached her table. Bianca held Sophia protectively, ready to scream. Bianca Ferraro? His voice was cultured, almost pleasant. Who's asking? A friend of the family. I have a message for Don Nero. Then deliver it to him yourself. I'd prefer to use you. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Tell him Marco Visconti sends his regards. And that he should be more careful with things he values. Ice flooded her veins. I don't know what. Of course you do. You're fucking him. Living in his pocket. Raising his brother's bastard under his protection. The man's gaze dropped to Sophia with chilling assessment. Beautiful child. It would be a shame if something happened to her. Bianca's vision blurred with fury and terror. If you touch her. I won't. Not yet. Not if Don Nero is reasonable. He slid a card across the table. Tell him to call me. We have business to discuss. Then he was gone, leaving Bianca shaking so hard she could barely hold her phone. He called Silvio. He answered immediately. Bianca. Someone just threatened Sophia. Her voice cracked. A man. Marco Visconti. He said things would happen if you're not careful with what you value. Silence. Then, where are you? Cafe Greco on Via dei Condotti. Don't move. I'm sending someone. They'll be there in 3 minutes. Silvio. Stay calm. Stay public. Don't leave until my men arrive. His voice was pure ice. And Bianca? You're moving into my home tonight. No arguments. The line went dead. 2 minutes later 2 men in dark suits entered the cafe. One approached her table while the other positioned himself by the door. Signora Ferraro? Don Nero sent us. We're here to take you home. Not to her apartment. Home. She understood what he meant. And for the first time she didn't argue. Silvio's estate was a fortress disguised as a villa. High walls. Security gates. Guards at every entrance. The car delivered Bianca and Sophia through the gates, up a winding drive lined with cypress trees, to a palazzo that looked like it belonged in a Renaissance painting. Silvio waited at the entrance. He strode to the car before it fully stopped, opening her door and pulling her into his arms. Are you hurt? His hands ran over her, checking for injuries. No. We're fine. He just talked. He threatened my family. The words were lethal. That's enough. He lifted Sophia from her car seat, holding her close while keeping one arm around Bianca. Come inside. We'll talk after you're settled. The interior was breathtaking. Marble floors, frescoed ceilings, priceless art on every wall. But Bianca barely noticed. She was too focused on Silvio's controlled fury. He led them upstairs to a wing that had clearly been prepared. Sophia's new room was a fantasy of soft colors and expensive toys. Bianca's adjoining suite was elegant and warm. This is temporary, he said, setting Sophia down to explore. Until we can design exactly what you want. Silvio, I can't. You can. You will. He turned to her, cupping her face. Someone threatened you because of me. Because you're close to me. That makes you a target. And I will not lose you. Tears burned her eyes. This isn't your fault. It's entirely my fault. I brought you into my world without proper protection. That ends now. His thumb brushed her cheek. You stay here. Behind these walls. With my guards. Until the threat is eliminated. For how long? However long it takes. His jaw set. Visconti is a rival family. They've been testing my boundaries for months. Using you to get to me is a declaration of war. Fear clutched her chest. What are you going to do? What I do best. His expression went cold. Remind them why crossing a Nero is fatal. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Silvio found Bianca in the library. She stood by the window staring out at the grounds, tension radiating from her frame. Talk to me, he said quietly. I brought danger to Sophia. Her voice was hollow. By being with you I made her a target. No. My enemies made her a target. You protected her by calling me immediately. I should have stayed away from you. He crossed to her, spinning her to face him. Don't do that. Don't rewrite history to make yourself the villain. I'm not. You are. You're looking for reasons to run. To push me away. To convince yourself this is impossible. His hands framed her face. But it's too late, Bianca. We're already in this. All the way in. Then how do I keep her safe? You let me handle it. You trust that I will burn the world down before I let anyone touch either of you. His eyes blazed. You're mine. Sophia is mine. And I protect what's mine with everything I have. You can't promise that. I already have. He pulled her against him, one hand in her hair, the other splayed across her back. The moment I walked through your door, the moment I saw Sophia, the moment I kissed you, I made promises I intend to keep. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in cedar and safety. I'm so tired of being afraid. Then stop. He tilted her chin up. Stop being afraid. Stop fighting this. Stop pretending you don't need me as much as I need you. I do need you. The admission hurt. That's what terrifies me. Why? Because everyone I've ever needed has left. My parents. Everyone. I'm not leaving. His voice was absolute. I'm not Matteo. I don't make promises I can't keep. I don't abandon what I claim. And I claimed you, Bianca. Weeks ago. You just haven't accepted it yet. She looked up at him, searching his face for doubt. She found only certainty. What if I'm not strong enough for this life? You already are. You've survived worse. He kissed her forehead. And now you don't have to survive alone. Something in her chest loosened. Maybe he was right. Maybe she'd been fighting the inevitable. Maybe surrender wasn't weakness. Maybe it was wisdom. Okay, she whispered. Okay. I'll stay. I'll stop fighting. She took a breath. I'll try to trust this. Triumph and relief flooded his expression. He kissed her deeply, thoroughly, until they were both breathless. Say it, he murmured against her lips. Say what? That you're mine. Heat flooded her. Silvio. Say it, Bianca. I need to hear it. She looked into his eyes and found her courage. I'm yours. He groaned, kissing her again with desperate possession. Again. I'm yours. Once more. I'm yours, Silvio. Only yours. He lifted her, carrying her to the couch. Then let me show you what that means. And he did. Thoroughly. Completely. Until she forgot every reason she'd had to resist. The next morning, Bianca woke to an empty bed. Sunlight streamed through unfamiliar windows. Silk sheets tangled around her bare skin. The scent of cedar lingered on the pillow beside her. She found a note on the nightstand. Had to handle business. Stay inside. My guards are outside if you need anything. Back by dinner. P.S. You're beautiful when you sleep. Don't be angry, I watched. Despite everything, she smiled. Then reality crashed in. She was living in Silvio Nero's home. Sleeping in his bed. Raising his niece under his protection. She'd surrendered completely. And somehow it didn't feel like losing. It felt like winning something she hadn't known she wanted. The days fell into a rhythm. Mornings with Sophia in the gardens. Afternoons exploring the vast estate. Evenings with Silvio when he returned from handling business she didn't ask about. He never came home with blood on his hands. But she saw it in his eyes sometimes. The cold calculation, the weight of decisions made, the darkness he carried. She should have been afraid. Instead, she found it reassuring. This was a man who would do anything to protect his family. And she was family now. Sophia bloomed in the new environment. She had space to run, gardens to explore, and Silvio's undivided attention whenever he was home. He taught her to feed the koi in the pond. To identify flowers. To say, Ti amo, I love you. Watching them together broke and healed Bianca in equal measure. This was what Sophia deserved. What she'd always deserved. A father figure who adored her. Space to grow. Security. Even if it came wrapped in danger and darkness. 2 weeks into their new life, Silvio's father requested a meeting. No, Bianca said immediately. It's not optional. Silvio's voice was gentle but firm. He knows you're here. He knows about Sophia. He wants to meet his granddaughter. He had his chance. He threw me out. I know. And he'll answer for that. Silvio took her hands. But he's still the head of this family. And if we're going to make this permanent, he needs to accept you. Make what permanent? He pulled a box from his pocket. Bianca's heart stopped. Inside was a ring. A stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds, antique and exquisite. This was my grandmother's, he said quietly. The only woman my grandfather ever loved. The only marriage in our family in 3 generations that was built on choice, not politics. Silvio. Marry me, Bianca. Not because I'm demanding it. Not because of Sophia. But because I love you. Because I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. Because I want more children with you. Because... His voice roughened. Because you're the only thing that's ever made me want to be better than I am. Tears spilled down her cheeks. We barely know each other. I know everything that matters. I know you're brave and fierce and loyal. I know you love Sophia more than life. I know you kiss me like I'm air and you're drowning. I know, he cupped her face. I know I'll never find another you. So why waste time pretending I'm looking? Your family will accept you because I demand it. Because you're mine. Because any man who disrespects you answers to me. His eyes held hers. Say yes, Bianca. Take my name. Be my wife. Let me give you everything. She looked at the ring, then at his face. She thought about Matteo, charming and reckless and gone. Then she thought about Silvio, steady and dangerous and here. The choice wasn't hard. Yes, she whispered. His expression transformed, pure joy breaking through his usual control. He slid the ring onto her finger, then kissed her with such tenderness she felt it in her soul. You're mine now, he murmured against her lips. Officially. Irrevocably. I was always yours. I know. But now the world knows too. Meeting his father was every nightmare Bianca had imagined. Don Salvatore Nero was older than Silvio, harder, with eyes that missed nothing and a presence that commanded rooms. He sat in his study like a king on a throne, watching as Silvio led Bianca in with Sophia on his hip. Father, Silvio said coolly. This is Bianca Ferraro. My fiancée. And this is Sophia. Your granddaughter. Salvatore's gaze swept over them with clinical assessment. Then landed on the ring on Bianca's finger. Silence stretched. Finally, Matteo's woman. My woman, Silvio corrected, voice etched with steel. Matteo's gone. What he had, what he left, it's mine now. Including his mistakes? Bianca's spine stiffened. But before she could speak, Silvio stepped forward. Sophia is not a mistake. He's a Nero. My blood. Under my protection. And if anyone, including you, suggests otherwise, they'll answer to me. Father and son stared at each other. Power meeting power. Then Salvatore's gaze shifted to Sophia, who watched him with curious gray eyes. Something flickered in the old man's expression. She has the Nero eyes. She has our blood, Silvio said. Which makes her family. And her mother? Is about to become my wife. Which makes her family too. Another long silence. Then Salvatore stood, crossing to them slowly. He stopped in front of Bianca, studying her with unnerving intensity. You loved my son. It wasn't a question. But Bianca answered anyway. I did. And now you love the other one? She lifted her chin. Yes. Convenient. Silvio's hand tightened on her waist, but Bianca spoke before he could. Not convenient. Inevitable. She met Salvatore's eyes without flinching. I didn't plan to fall for Silvio. I didn't want to need anyone again. But he wouldn't let me hide. He showed up and he stayed and he gave me and Sophia everything Matteo promised but never delivered. Her voice steadied. So yes, I love him. And I'll marry him. Whether you approve or not. Silence. Then impossibly Salvatore smiled. You have fire. Good. My son needs a woman who won't break. He looked at Silvio. You chose well. Tension bled from the room. Salvatore reached for Sophia, who went to him without fear. Hello, Piccola. I'm your nonno. Sophia patted his weathered cheek, then grinned. And just like that, Bianca was accepted into the Nero family. Not because she'd asked. Because Silvio had demanded it. The engagement was announced 3 days later. Bianca wore a dress Silvio had commissioned. Emerald silk that matched her ring, elegant and expensive. They stood together at a family gathering, his arm around her waist, presenting her to the assembled Neros and their allies. She felt every stare, every judgment. But Silvio held her like she was precious. And when someone whispered about Matteo, about scandal, about propriety, Silvio's voice cut through the room. Bianca will be my wife. Sophia will be my daughter in every way that matters. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave now. No one left. Later, in the quiet of their room, Bianca confronted him. You didn't have to threaten them. Yes, I did. He loosened his tie, eyes dark. They needed to understand. You're not negotiable. You're not temporary. You're mine. Forever. You're very possessive. I'm very in love. He pulled her close. There's a difference. She smiled against his chest. Is there? Yes. Possession is about control. Love is about... He paused, seeming to search for words. It's about not being able to breathe when you're not near. About wanting your happiness more than my own. About looking at Sophia and feeling my heart break because I love her like she's mine, and I want to give her the world. Tears pricked her eyes. Silvio. I love you, Bianca. Completely. Mesly. With everything I am. His forehead pressed to hers. And I need you to understand that before we go any further. I do understand. She cupped his face. And I love you too. So much it terrifies me. Good. He kissed her softly. Terror means it's real. But terror took a different form 3 nights later. Bianca woke to chaos. Shouting. Gunfire. Silvio already out of bed, pulling on clothes with swift efficiency. Stay here, he commanded. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. What's happening? Visconti's making his move. His expression was lethal. He's attacking the estate. Fear iced her veins. Sophia. My guards are with her. She's safe. He checked his gun with practiced ease. But I need you to stay here. Please, Bianca. Trust me. She nodded, though everything in her screamed to run to her daughter. He kissed her hard, then was gone. The lock clicked behind him. Bianca stood in the dark, shaking, listening to violence unfold below. Minutes felt like hours. She heard shouting. More gunfire. Then silence. Terrible yawning silence. Then her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have stayed away from him. Now everyone pays. Attached was a photo. Of Sophia's empty crib. Bianca's scream shattered the silence. She ran for the door, yanking it open despite Silvio's orders. The hallway was chaos. Guards running, blood on marble, smoke in the air. She found Silvio in Sophia's room, surrounded by his men, his face carved from stone. Where is she? Bianca's voice broke. Where's my daughter? He turned, and the devastation in his eyes told her everything. They took her. The world ended. Bianca's legs gave out. Silvio caught her, holding her as she shattered. No. No, no, no. I'll get her back. His voice was raw steel. I swear to you, Bianca. I will bring her home. How? They could be anywhere. I know where they're going. I know Visconti's operations. I know. He cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. I know how to end this. But I need you to trust me. I trust you. Tears poured down her face. Just bring her back. Please, Silvio. Bring our daughter back. Our daughter. The words hit him visibly. He kissed her forehead, fierce and desperate. I will. I promise. Just stay here. Stay safe. And wait for me. Then he was gone, taking half his guards and leaving Bianca in a nightmare of waiting. 6 hours. That's how long Bianca waited, pacing Sophia's empty room, clutching her daughter's blanket, praying to gods she didn't believe in. Salvatore arrived with reinforcements. He found her in the nursery, staring at nothing. He'll bring her back, the old man said quietly. How do you know? Because I've never seen my son love anything the way he loves you and that child. He'll move heaven and hell. And he'll come home. Salvatore sat beside her. I'm sorry. For how I treated you. For discarding you when Matteo died. I was wrong. It doesn't matter now. It does. Does your family. And family protects family. He took her hand. Silvio is the best of us. The strongest. The most ruthless when it matters. If anyone can bring Sophia home, it's him. Bianca wanted to believe. But fear was louder than faith. They came back at dawn. Bianca heard the cars first, then footsteps. She ran to the entrance, heart in her throat. Silvio walked through the door carrying Sophia. She was asleep, wrapped in his jacket, peaceful and whole. Bianca's sob echoed through the palazzo. She ran to them, taking Sophia into her arms, checking every inch of her daughter through tears that wouldn't stop. She's okay, Silvio said roughly. Unharmed. They were using her as leverage, not. He stopped. She's okay, Bianca. I swear. Sophia stirred, blinking sleepy eyes. Mama. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. Bianca held her so tight, never wanting to let go. Then she looked at Silvio. Really looked. He was covered in blood. Bruised. Exhausted. His knuckles were split, his shirt torn. But he was standing. Is it over? She whispered. It's over. His voice was empty, hollow. Visconti is dead. His family is scattered. No one will threaten you again. You killed him. Yes. He should be horrified. Disgusted. Afraid. Instead she felt only relief. Thank you, she breathed. He shook his head. Don't thank me for this. Don't. He turned away. I brought that danger to your door. If Sophia had been hurt, if they'd. Bianca shifted Sophia to one arm and grabbed him with the other, forcing him to face her. You brought her home. You kept your promise. You, her voice cracked. You saved our daughter. His composure shattered. He pulled them both into his arms and broke, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. They stood there in the entrance hall as sunrise painted the sky, a family forged in violence and love, holding each other like they'd never let go. Because they wouldn't. Not ever. The wedding happened 2 weeks later. Small. Intimate. Just family and a few close allies. Bianca wore white lace and carried Sophia on her hip as she walked down the aisle. Silvio waited at the altar in a black suit, gray eyes bright with barely restrained emotion. When she reached him, he took Sophia first, kissing her forehead before handing her to Salvatore. Then he took Bianca's hands. You're sure? He asked quietly, just for her. I've never been more sure of anything. The ceremony was simple. Traditional vows spoken in Italian and English. But when Silvio slid the ring onto her finger, his grandmother's emerald now joined by a matching wedding band, he added his own words. I promise to protect you, to cherish you, to love you and Sophia with everything I am. I promise that you'll never face darkness alone again. I promise. His voice roughened. I promise to be worthy of the gift you've given me. This family. This life. This love. Bianca's tears fell freely. I promise to trust you. To stand beside you. To love you through everything this life brings. I promise to build a home with you. To give Sophia siblings. She smiled through her tears. To stop running from the best thing that's ever happened to me. He kissed her before the priest could give permission. Deep and claiming and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Sophia clapped from Salvatore's arms, making everyone laugh. And Bianca realized something profound. She'd come to Italy chasing a dream with the wrong brother. But she'd found her forever with the right one. 6 months later, Bianca stood in the gardens watching Silvio chase Sophia through the roses. Her daughter was nearly 2 now, running and laughing, calling for her papa with pure joy. Because that's what he'd become. Not her uncle. Her father. In every way that mattered. Bianca's hand rested on her stomach, on the small swell that was just beginning to show. Their child. Hers and Silvio's. A sibling for Sophia. A new beginning. Silvio caught Sophia, lifting her high while she shrieked with delight. Then his eyes found Bianca's across the garden. He stilled, gaze dropping to where her hand rested. He knew. Of course he knew. He set Sophia down, sending her to play with her toys, then crossed to Bianca with purposeful strides. How long? He asked, hands framing her face. 3 months. I wanted to be sure before. He kissed her silent, then dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead to her stomach. Another miracle, he whispered. Another gift I don't deserve. You deserve everything. She threaded her fingers through his hair. You've given me everything. Safety, love, a family, a home. He looked up at her, eyes bright. You gave me those things first. You and Sophia, you made me want to be more than what I was. You made me believe in something beyond power and control. What's that? Love, family, a future that isn't built on violence. He stood, pulling her close. You saved me, Bianca. Just as much as I saved you. She leaned into him, breathing in cedar and home. So we saved each other. We did. He pressed a kiss to her temple. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. I won't. I couldn't. She looked up at him. I love you, Silvio. Completely. Forever. Forever, he echoed. I promise. And as Sophia ran to them, wrapping her small arms around their legs, Bianca knew the truth. She'd carried his brother's child into darkness. But Silvio had refused to let her go. And in that refusal, in that fierce, possessive love, he'd given her everything. Light. Safety. Forever. A love that conquered fear, guilt, and every shadow of the past. They were no longer broken pieces trying to survive alone. They were a family. Complete. Unshakable. His. And she wouldn't have it any other way. 1 year later, the Nero estate was filled with laughter. Sophia was 3 now, chasing her baby brother Marco through the gardens while Silvio watched with amused patience. Marco, named for Bianca's old friend who'd inadvertently triggered Silvio's jealousy that fateful night, had his father's dark hair and his mother's warm smile. Bianca stood on the terrace, 7 months pregnant with their 3rd child, watching her family with profound contentment. Silvio appeared behind her, arms wrapping around her swollen belly. Tired, he murmured against her neck. Happy, she corrected. Good. He turned her in his arms, gray eyes soft. Because I plan to keep you this way for the next 50 years. Only 50? 60? 70? However long I get you. He kissed her gently. Every day with you is a gift I never expected to receive. Dramatic. Honest. His hands splayed across her stomach, feeling their daughter kick. You gave me everything, Bianca. Purpose. Love. A reason to be better than I was. You were always good, Silvio. You just needed someone to see it. You saw it. When no one else did. When I didn't see it myself. He pressed his forehead to hers. Ti amo, mia moglie. My wife. My heart. My everything. Ti amo, she whispered back. Sophia's voice called from the gardens. Papa. Watch. They turned to see their daughter attempting a cartwheel while Marco clapped enthusiastically. Silvio laughed, a sound that still surprised Bianca with its warmth. Our daughter is fearless, he observed. She learned it from you. No. She learned it from you. He took her hand, the emerald ring catching sunlight. You were the bravest person I ever met. Walking into my world. Trusting me with Sophia. Letting me love you despite everything. You didn't give me much choice. True. I was rather insistent. You were obsessed. I still am. He pulled her close, voice dropping. I will always be obsessed with you, Bianca Nero. It's permanent. Incurable. She smiled against his chest. I can live with that. Good. Because you're not getting rid of me. Wouldn't dream of it. They stood together, watching their children play, feeling the new life growing between them, wrapped in the security of forever. Bianca had once believed she'd loved the wrong brother. But fate had corrected her mistake. Had given her exactly who she needed. Not the charming one who made promises he couldn't keep, but the dangerous one who kept every promise he made. The Mafia King who'd refused to let her go. Who'd claimed her heart and her future and built them both into something beautiful. Something permanent. Something worth every fear she'd conquered to get here. And as Silvio kissed her temple, whispering promises of forever against her skin, Bianca finally understood. She hadn't carried his brother's child into a tragedy. She'd carried her into destiny. Into the arms of the man who would love them both without limits. Without conditions. Without end. Forever his. Forever home. Forever loved. The end.